Hi, welcome to howcookingworks.com. Today we're going to be cooking pho, Vietnamese beef noodle soup. Before we get started, we'd like to announce we have a page on Facebook, so you can visit us on facebook.com/howcookingworks. If you visit and become a fan there, you'll be keeping track of the latest recipes and photos. So pho is actually not that hard to cook, but it's very ingredient centric, so let's get started. The first thing you need is beef bones. So this is shank here. You can get shank or knuckle. If you go to your Asian market, this costs about 80 cents and it's frozen. If it's frozen, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. If you don't live near an Asian market, just go to your local butcher and ask about 5 pounds of beef bone. Hopefully it's not too expensive. The next thing is you need a bunch of spices. So the first one is fennel seed. This is fennel seed here. What we're going to do already is we're going to take 1 tablespoon of fennel seed out. The next thing is we're going to get coriander. Coriander is just like one of your basic spices you can get. We're going to get 1 tablespoon also. The next thing is star anise. Star anise is a little more rare. You probably don't see this in American markets. It sort of has a liquor smell and spice. So you will only get 5 star anise. Next thing is we want to get cardamom. This is a dried cardamom pod. It smells sort of smoky if you take it out, so we just need 1. Next thing here is we need some cloves, right? Cloves I find to be a little overpowering, so I'm just going to take 1 teaspoon of cloves. Next thing we need is 1 cinnamon stick, and we need rock sugar. So we're going to need one little cube of this. The next thing we need is ginger and onion. So what we have here is ginger is already peeled. A 4-inch is good. So peel it and dice it in half, and 1 onion here, like so. The last thing we need is fish sauce. So fish sauce is going to constitute the salt of the dish. For the noodles, you can get your rice sticks, which is called buong. If you live in the West Coast, there's actually fresh rice sticks which you can buy. So the directions here are pretty simple. It's 4 steps. First thing is you're going to char this. So we're going to put this in the oven. We're going to char it for about 15 minutes. Next thing is we're going to toast the spices very briefly, because what happens when you toast the spices, it becomes more aromatic. The next thing here is these bones have blood in it, right? And the problem is when you cook any type of stock, blood seems to come out and it cooks, and it can combine into your broth. So we're going to do something. We're going to parboil the bones. We're going to boil it for 10 minutes first to get rid of all the impurities, and then we're going to create the stock. Lastly, we're going to simmer all these ingredients in a stock pot for about 3 hours. So it's pretty simple. The only complicated thing is getting all these ingredients. As for some analysis on this is basically, if you think about it, it's your classic beef stock, right? If you ever made beef stock, it's not that different. What we're doing is we're getting these bones, right? We're putting it in water. And as we slowly simmer this, what happens is the beef juices come out. The thing how this is different than your traditional American or French stocks is we're adding all these spices here, right? So these spices create a very unique contrast with each other, and they have to be in balance. That's why these are the proportions I sort of specified. The next thing, adding some additional kick, is charred ginger and charred onion, right? And to give it the very Vietnamese aspect, as you know, almost all Vietnamese recipes have fish sauce. This is your big key here. So with that said, let's get started. So what we have here is a stock pot, half full of water, and we already bring it to a boil. Remember that. So the first thing we do is we're going to add these bones. Be careful, because this is really hot. Things might splash at you. And you need to time this for 10 minutes after you put all your bones in. So what we're doing here is we're parboiling, and this is going to get rid of all the impurities in the blood and the bones. So when we simmer it for a couple hours, we don't have to really watch it. We're just going to leave it. And the next thing we do is we're going to toast the spices. So what we have here is we have this spice mixture. And we have a stock pot on medium heat. So you're going to just make sure you're going to toast it for about just like a minute. You don't want to burn it. That's the key thing. So medium heat, you know. What you want to do is you want to get some of the aromatics out of it. At the same time, what we have here is we have the ginger and onion, and we turn an oven on broil, right? So put this on your top rack. So I'm just gonna put this in. So here again, you're gonna smell this the smell sort of come out, and yeah, and that's about it. I really don't want to cook this too long, so you can take it off the heat. And so what I'm doing is just stirring it. And what you want to do after this is you want to put it in a type of metal strainer, because the key thing is when you're cooking pho, you don't want to just dump this straight in. If you do dump it straight in, then you're gonna have to filter that out later. So we're gonna come back in about 10 minutes. So you see here, we have the ginger and onion. And, ooh, that is the char you want. If it's black like that, don't worry. It's not a big deal. That's what we want. The key thing is when you broil, sometimes the broiler turns off if you have your door closed. So occasionally, like every maybe like 5-ish, couple minutes, open the door to force the heat up on the top. So this is what you want here. That's okay. And for this is what you want. You want it to be charred. So don't worry about it. If it's not charred, it's not ready yet. We are going to add that cinnamon, right? We're going to turn this on high. What we're going to do is bring it to a boil, drop it to a simmer. And the key thing here is put all the spices in a little convenient metal tray. And that's about it. What we're going to do is we're going to, oh yeah, rock sugar. So the last thing is we have something called rock sugar. It's sugar, but it's a lot bigger. This is sort of a big stock, so I'm going to use one big piece. We're going to need fish sauce. So 1/3 of a cup here. The thing here is, if it's not salty enough at the end of the day, don't worry about it because you can add more later. But you do want to try to add enough in the beginning because you want the fish sauce to sort of meld with the broth itself. Because generally speaking, when you cook any broth and you add salt in the beginning of it, it tends to meld better with everything. Alright, so now we brought it to a boil. First thing we're going to do is drop temp. Drop it to low. And you want to keep it at a simmer. What you want is make sure you have maybe like fancy strainer like this, or just like a spoon. What you want to do is for the next hour, you need to watch and remove the scum that comes from the top. It's not going to be that bad since we parboiled it. You'll notice if you do this without parboiling, you're going to be cleaning this a lot. So this is not too bad. Now what we want to do is we want to check the final time for scum. So upon looking at this, it's pretty good. It's pretty clean, which means we had a pretty good parboil. What you want to check for is there's just a slight bubbling, which means it's just hot enough. So we're actually okay to leave this out for 3 hours. It's been about 3 hours, so let's check what we have. The first thing you notice is the broth has considerably darkened in color, which is good. First thing you do is you want to taste it. Be careful, it's very hot. So there's a lot of fat on the top, so also be aware of that. Okay, now that's about good. So what you want to taste for is that salt sort of hit you, but not to overpower all the other spices in there. So it's pretty good, and we're pretty much ready to go. So here we have the final plating. Here we have some herbs. So let's talk about some of the herbs. This is a sawtooth herb. You can see the edge is a little jagged here. We have some basil, some beanstalk, and we have hoisin sauce and sriracha. So the thing here is cook your noodles per your directions. There it is there. And what you want to do is you want to add some meat. This is a pho thai, which is basically beef eye round, which is thinly sliced. So go to your butcher and ask for eye round and tell them to cut it as thin as possible. The reason why this works is Typically, the round cuts are sort of tough, but since you cut it so thinly, it doesn't really matter. The next thing you want to do is get your broth, and you want to just pour it over. So bon appetit. Thank you for watching this long recipe.